Hey guys, so trying something new. I think I've got a camera set up here where I can use both my hands instead of holding the camera with one hand and trying to do stuff like a chump. Because that's what I've always done. I'm a simple man. Anyways, so going off the last video, I want to show you where this D-pad replacement mod has landed. I've got these here so you can see kind of I think this one actually is supposed to go here. You can see the progression of where this has gone over the Christmas weekend, the Christmas week, which is when I've been mostly working on this. Really what these are is you can see a transition from a smaller hole to a larger one, and that's so that we can accept, and this is the current iteration right here. We can accept a brass threaded insert. So when we're putting a M3 bolt through the top of this hat into this rocker, it can go into metal threads instead of originally it was just going into plastic, which is fine. Honestly, screwing into plastic is fine. It holds pretty good. The main issue that I've got with screwing directly into plastic is if you need to back that screw out and put it back in, and maybe more than once or twice or three times, you can start to degrade the cut threads that are cut into the plastic, the walls of the cylinder. So going into brass, going into metal is obviously just way more robust. And I've done the same here. Let me get the original one that I had. You can see the original version was also just smaller holes in the plastic directly to screw into with the M2 bolts. So I got some M2 brass threaded inserts, and that's what we're using. Yeah, so I'm just going to assemble this for you, see if I can do that, and hopefully it'll give you an idea of what's going on. So the way that this works is this rocker goes kind of face down into the channels. I'd like to give it a little shove, make sure it's seated well, and then the switches they go face down into their cavities. So there's one placed, and I like to kind of hold it with my thumb, because if you put the next one you put in will hit the rocker and will jostle the previous one. So just kind of work my way around. And one left. I had wires attached to all four of these the last couple days, but I've disassembled and reassembled and disassembled and reassembled this thing so many flipping times that I've knocked the wires off the other one, so I'm going to have to resolder those. But just for demonstration purposes, you see what this looks like. And it's a tight-ish fit. It's tight enough that they kind of can kind of hold via friction, but you can jostle them. So at this point, we've got that rocker in there underneath, and then the switches on top of them. And then the next part is this this cap. Now, I'm showing you guys how to do this, one, so that I can show off the design because I think it's cool, and two, because I can send these off to you fully assembled like I'm doing, or I can just send you the 3D files and you can print them yourself, or I can just send you a basic kit that's just a plastic and you can get your own switches and do your own wiring. So there's different ways for you to get this. If you do one of the ways, then you're going to be doing this assembly yourself instead of me. So be careful with this part. This is thin. Again, the vertical tolerance inside of Orb Weavers and Tartarus V2s are real slim. So this is a very thin part, and it can break. So just be gentle. Once you get this on, it should snap a little bit into place. And now we can just kind of go around, make sure these are all seated. Yeah, that one kind of came out a little bit. So did that one, just give it a little push. looks good. And at this point, we can take these M2 bolts and put them directly into the brass threads. And this guy, I like to take it all the way down until you can just see the bottom of the pan head touch the plastic. And then you stop. And then I do the diagonal. The reason for that is because I can get a consistent amount of tension on this top, and then test the rocker, and then tension the diagonals individually. That's because the tension on this is important. You'll see why. But you can go back in time on my YouTube channel and see previous versions of this mod that was basically just these switches packed into a similar, more slim looking harness with just hot glue. Which again, I think I've previously stated that mod works. It does. I've sent out many of those and not gotten any complaints about the hot glue. But I don't like doing that. If we can use more robust fasteners there, then you know, the part's more robust. So now we're assembled mostly. Everything's in, and at this point, don't hold it from the bottom to do this test. Hold it from the sides and just kind of get a feel for how the rocker is feeling. So that's a bit loose, I can already tell. You want this to be somewhat firm, but still be able to rock it in all directions and get a switch click. So I'm getting switch clicks, but it's a little bit too loose, and I have to push them really hard. So that means the rocker travel is too far. So we can take up that slop a little bit by just adding some tension here. So I'm just going to do a similar amount of tension at the diagonals. And what I'm watching now is this gap. I'm going to make this gap consistent on all four sides. So there's that side. And this is really, this part's done by eye/feel. All right. And you do have to be careful. If you do too much tension, I've broken a few of these. They tend to break at this transition right here. So you do have to be careful not to over tension them. Anyways, there's that, and one more right here. Here we go. That's about it. And a little bit less slop. But each switch click is really robust. Like, I can feel them. They're right there. So at this point, I want to put the hat on. Right there. It just goes on. And then we put a M2 bolt into its brass threaded insert to the bottom there. There we go. And that's basically done. You can still at this point play with the tension on the bottom. I can feel there's a little bit too much slop still, just a little bit. So I'm just going to bring that in a little bit more. That's really good. That's really good. And at this point, we're ready to go. Like I said, I still need to resolder the wires back onto these switches, but this is ready to be dropped in. I've got the right length M2 and M3 powder-coated black colored bolts on the way for this guy that should be arriving today or tomorrow from Amazon. So the pan heads will match the plastic, especially up here. I think that's important. So I've got that on the way. So I won't mail this out until I get those in. I got to put those wires back on. And these tabs on the bottom are what seat into the PCB. They're probably a little bit too long, so what I'm envisioning is that they will go in and then they can be trimmed from the bottom. Really, probably what needs to happen, and this is the only use of hot glue in this mod needed at this point, is you would seat this into the PCB and then trim, not flush against the bottom of the PCB, but trim just a little bit above it, and then hot glue the tabs. I don't think it's necessary because this, the one thing I did not get lined up was my calipers. So this thickness right here is at 8.34 millimeters. And this is a OG, this is an original Orweaver DPAD thing. It is right at 7.34. So I'm about a millimeter thicker here-ish. And that's really pushing it. You really do not have that much room inside the guts of a Orweaver. It's really, really, really tight. So I think that once you get this seated on the PCB and you mount the PCB inside the case, just the tension from this being jammed against the top of the case, this isn't going to go anywhere. This isn't going to move. But you could, even just to help you seat it, with just some hot glue on the bottom, just a little bit. But otherwise, that's the only hot glue, if you even need that. Otherwise, this is completely just mechanical fasteners. So this is a super high quality, robust part now with brass threaded inserts and M2 bolts and a single M3 bolt. And again, yeah, if I send these out, like I said, I've got powder coated, black colored pan head hex screws. I don't like Phillips. These are the only M2 in the right size that I had that were Phillips and silver, so that's why I used them for this test. But I've got proper powder coated ones coming. And that's it. Thanks for watching.